next speaker is Tolias, who is legal lead on AI liability in healthcare and European health data space. So please.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for the invite to this interesting event. I'll try to indeed run you through quickly on the interplay between the AI Act, European Health Data Space, medical devices. So try to give you the picture there. As we all know, there is a lot of global healthcare challenges, of course, including in Europe. And that's why sometimes we say that digital transformation of healthcare could resolve a number of these challenges, including human shortages, chronic diseases, aging population, all these challenges. And that's how we perceive the digital transformation. If you can click, yeah, we have to coordinate because there is a lot of clicks, and I will try my best to coordinate. Yes. So there is two central components to digital transformation. One of them is unlocking of health data. Of course, as you know, without health data, you wouldn't be able to develop, to deploy, and so on, AI systems, AI-based medical devices, and so on. Then the second one is artificial intelligence. So I think it's a combination between health data and artificial intelligence, two central components of this digital transformation. Click. So if we start with, yes, stop there. So if we start with unlocking of health data, as you know, tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, the European Health Data Space is entering into force, which is a world-leading governance system of how we collect, use, reuse data. Click. Yeah, okay, there. The European Health Data Space is divided into, you may think of it being split into three pillars. First, primary use, i.e., how as a patient I transfer my data from one hospital to the other, from one country to the other. Secondly, there is a provisions on electronic health records, and more specifically on the interoperability of electronic health records. So you could be sending the data in an interoperable manner. And thirdly, secondary use, i.e., how do I use this data now, the health data, to, for example, develop an AI model. Click. Now, with AI, of course, to boost up AI, to scale up AI, we need trust and acceptability. How do we ensure trust and acceptability of AI, especially at these very early stages, is by, maybe you can do 3 clicks. Yeah, so it's through the AI Act, which, as you know, it entered into force in August of last year. So, and you may think of it as being the medical devices with combo medical devices AI Act in the safety of an AI-based medical device. Then the Product Liability Directive, which clarifies, which was also entered into force in December, which clarifies the obligations of the manufacturer. So what are my obligations? When is a system defective? What is the meaning of an AI defective system? Of course, it's not just AI, the PLD, but it also has implications on how do we understand what is the meaning of a defective AI-based medical system. And thirdly, we have the deployment, because of course, even if you have research, a lot of development, if you don't have deployment, then you're also undermining innovation, but also you don't give any benefits to the patients on that side, because you're piling a lot there. And that's why now we started actually Sante 2, focusing a lot in the area of deployment. 3 clicks. So I will focus now quickly on the secondary use of data, AI Act, and deployment to give you very quickly the punchline of these ones. Click. So I'm sure you have seen this pyramid. This is the risk-based pyramid of the AI Act, which is usually presented like that. AI-based medical devices, which is most of what we talk in the area of healthcare, they're somewhere in the middle, meaning that a lot of the provisions of the AI Act would be applicable to these type of systems. Okay, click. Now, let's see how I split them for the purposes of clarity. I made a split there to maybe make the AI Act a bit more clear. So we may split the AI in healthcare uses into two main groups, I would say. First, yes, the AI machine learning based medical purpose software, which will be medical device, which is embedded or standalone. And if these would require, which is an obligation in the AI Act, a third-party conformity assessment, they will render them as high-risk AI systems. What is the meaning of a high-risk AI system exactly? It means there will be obligations on the provider, i.e., if I deal with a high-risk AI system, more or less, most of the AI systems in healthcare, because they would be medical devices, I would be needing to comply with those obligations. In addition, actually, the Act goes a bit one step further than the MDR, because it also imposes certain obligations, not a lot, but certain obligations on the deployer too. So certain obligations would be also on the healthcare professional, hospital, and so on, coming from the Act. So it's a bit different from the classic CE marking rules. It goes a bit one step further in imposing also obligations on the deployer. Now, there is also now what we call what the AI Act calls general purpose AI systems. These are large language models, foundation models, and so on, which could be also applicable in healthcare. There you have certain obligations, mainly transparency obligations, because if you think of it, if you have a large language model there, and I am a medical device manufacturer, and I want to use this foundation model, I would need to know the basics, because that's how I could also comply with my AI Act obligations later on. So the obligation there is that you, the developer of the foundation model, you provide certain requirements, not a lot, to the downstream developer, so I know what my obligations are. There are certain exceptions, Yeah, there are certain exceptions. And also there is more obligations if you have a general purpose AI model with systemic risks. So there is a definition of what a systemic risk is. If you're dealing with this type of foundation model, you have these obligations plus these obligations. And then, of course, this foundation model, if you're a medical device manufacturer, maybe you will decide to incorporate it in the medical device. So you would have these obligations plus these obligations. Yeah, that's how it will be. I try to simplify a bit to show you the punchline. Okay, next. So let's get one now to start slowly moving to the European health data space. Let's now get one of the obligations in the AI Act. One of the obligations in the AI Act, Article 10, if I'm not mistaken, paragraph 5, it imposes this obligation that the data, when you're developing, just to paraphrase, when you're developing your AI system, this is my AI system, as we all know, one of the main goals is that it generalizes well, which means what? It's performing well in different countries, in different environments, in different patients. It equally works well in Finland, as in Italy, as in Greece, as whatever. So it works well in every type of patient. And that's why, no, one click before. So one of the obligations there is that you should consider, it says, the geographical, contextual, behavioral, and functional setting in which the system is. So you can see there is, of course, a number of interpretations that would be given and should be given by standardization organizations as to what the meaning of those are. So you know, as a medical device developer, what my obligations are. But then the question would be, okay, you impose these obligations on me. How do I find this data? One might have asked. How do I comply with these obligations if I'm not allowed to have Finnish data, I'm not allowed to have Italian data, and so on? This is where the European health data space pops in. Click. This is the infrastructure. You wouldn't see this thing. This is what is hidden in a way. This is what is the technical infrastructure. But that's how it will be working a bit without getting into the details, just to give you one, and I will show you what people would see. This is what technical people would see and how we develop it technically. There, if you see the cylinder on the bottom, the green one is a data holder. So basically there is someone who is holding the data. Think of it like a hospital. Not only, but just to give you one scenario, the hospital. On the right green is the data user. I'm a medical device or a researcher and I want to use data. So I'm there. And then in the middle, there is different satellites. One of them, it could be what we call a health data access body. So think of it that each country would have at least one health data access body. One in Finland, one in Sweden, one in Denmark, one in Italy, so at least one. And then some other satellites who are holding data. For example, one of the satellites is the EU, because the EU also holds data. EMA, for example, holds data. So you also have a satellite if you want to access the EMA data. So there is the satellite system. Next. So then if you check the data holders, this is the data holders is not just the hospital, but think of the hospital. It could be also the medical device developer. If you're holding health data, then you are also a data holder, which means you have certain obligations and certain others. Click. Data categories. So now, okay, I'm a data holder. Then what data should I be holding in order for the European health data space obligations to kick in? These are the data categories. It says, for example, electronic health records, data coming from medical devices. If you are a medical device manufacturer and you created a medical device or a user and you are collecting health data from the people, this is one of the categories that you should, as you will see, make available later on for research for certain purposes. So that's the combo you have to make. Am I a holder of data? Yes. Am I holding this type of data? Yes. Then the obligations kick in. Click. Yeah, I will give you one scenario just to see. Okay, stay there and I will tell you click, so you see a bit what will really happen. The patient. We're getting one scenario. Huh? There is a lot of scenarios, but I'm getting one scenario which is a bit more familiar. The patient goes to the hospital. If the patient goes to the hospital under normal GDPR rules, the hospital collects data. They are allowed under GDPR rules. So they have their electronic health records and so on. Nothing changes there. Click. There, then the hospital, you cannot see, but there the hospital then is now obliged, because it's a data holder holding health data, what I told you before, is obliged now to indicate, let's say I'm a Danish hospital. I'm obliged now to indicate to my health data access body what type of data I hold. 20,000 x-rays, 20,000 MRIs of lungs, So I make a list of what I hold and I give it to the my health data access body. Click. The health data access body, the Danish one now, needs to create a catalog. We have 20 hospitals in Denmark. There we're holding 1 million MRIs, 1 million of this, 1 million of that. So you create your data catalog. What is the situation in Denmark? Then this catalog is sent to the European Union Central Services. The European Commission now is obliged to create an EU-based catalog. In the EU, we have 1 billion MRIs, 1 billion X-rays, 1 billion of this, 1 billion of that. So this is the EU catalog. Now the researcher. I am a researcher. Now I have an idea about, because we used to have this thing a few years ago, startups. When we meet startups, they say, I have an idea about something, but they say, we don't have the data to use our idea. And this is going back to the US, they are more innovative, whatever, and so on. They say, we don't have the data. Now you can have the data. Because you're a small startup with a great idea, you can check the EU catalog, you can check the Danish, Spanish, whatever catalog, and you see what data you want. You want this data? Click. You send the data access application to your health data access body and say, I want this data from Germany, from Sweden, and so on. Click. Then they check your data obligation. Are you within the justified purposes or in the prohibited purposes? Let's say with the justified purposes. Okay, good, you're allowed. Then they wouldn't send the health data to you. They will place them in what we call a secure processing environment. So think of it as a closed chamber that you will take the model, the AI model, in that chamber to train it, and then to get it out. So the data would not move. Click. Click. Yes. Now, if you have clinical significant findings, you are informing your data access body. Click. Then the health data access body, if you make a big discovery that affects the life of people, then you are obliged to give information to your health. Let's say the Danish health data access body, and then the health data access body to even inform the hospital, you know, the data you gave us, and they have been used for research, they made a big discovery, and it affects your patients, or vice versa. You're doing something wrong there, or whatever. Here is a signal we got from the researchers to see how it will also benefit. Click. So then the health data access would be, the health data would be deleted then, and click. Okay, click. Okay, then continue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Another maybe 1 minute, and yeah, 1 minute. Okay. Then there is certain implementing measures. I will send you these slides so you can see them, because as you know now, after tomorrow, we're entering the implementing measures. All these we need to create infrastructures, to create whatever, and this is what it explains there: primary, secondary, electronic health record. Click. Then the roadmap, the different projects that they started to implement, because as you know, there is a lot of infrastructures. Click. Deployment. Despite that there is a lot of research and development, there is slow deployment. We don't see a lot of deployment of AI in healthcare. This is what we started investigating through different projects, collaborations, international collaborations. Click. And we have a big project now, which we should start in summertime, a 4.5 million grant, which will look a bit at deployment. How, where, what are the good deployment practices, mapping AI in the EU and so on. This is a project there. Okay. And this is my last slide. You can click until the end. Yeah, thanks.